Hey everyone, your host Nick here, and you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. First, I want to remind you that we are a fully independent podcast, quite literally just a group of friends who have met once a week since 2008 to talk about video games. If you like our show, the best thing you can do for us is be active in our community. I recommend Discord. You can subscribe to our show, leave us a review on your preferred podcast service, or, if you're so inclined, bless us with your patronage on Patreon or Twitch. If you're new, all you need to know is this. We record these shows live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central on Twitch, and the audio version launches on all podcast services on Friday morning. Patreon and Twitch supporters will even get the show a day early on Thursdays. But if you want to know more about any of this, about what we do, or find all the important links you need, simply visit us at 4playernetwork.com. And that's it. This is the only ad you'll ever hear on this show. So, with that said, thank you for listening. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 791. It is April 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Nick Henderson, joined by Brad Simons.
Hello.
Christopher Guthrich.
Hello. What?
I don't know. I always feel silly going straight from the roll call and then getting to the official roll call so quickly.
You forced my roll call to be long and annoying, so I'm going to recreate.
The only reason
going to be a copy of whatever my roll call is going to be.
The only reason why we did it is to get into E3.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's
No,
accurate.
remember
Anyways.
that was like a rule to apply for press access.
I
remember
this.
You had to submit a podcast where like your name is said within the first like 30 seconds of the podcast or some shit.
Which is silly
in
and of itself. There's so many ways around that. But
yeah,
anyways,
E3's dead.
E3 is dead. You know, oh god, that kind of makes me sad. But at the same time, it's
what are you talking about? We fucking beat them. We outlived them.
We did outlive E3. Also,
cost,
Chris
though?
Davis is joining us tonight.
I'm also here. Hello.
He is.
Silksong was playable at the last E3.
Yeah, dude, that still blows my mind. I shared this in Discord a while ago, but I was going through my phone trying to find E3 pictures for some reason, and I did like a scroll back. I was like, what the fuck was that? And I went back. I was like, oh my god, I forgot. I have a picture of me standing in line in the Nintendo booth of someone playing Hollow Knight Silksong.
Which could have been Nick, but he was like, Silksong, I'm going to go play Far Cry 5.
At the time. Okay, that is a fair assessment. But
we've got an appointment at Ubisoft.
At the time, I don't think I had played Hollow Knight yet. I could be wrong.
Wow. You played that one late? You played that
maybe
one
I was actually in the act of playing it or something. I don't remember, but it felt to me at the time like, well, I'm pretty familiar with this. I don't know if I need to go play a demo for it right now. Little did I know that it'd be like fucking 5 years later, 6 years later, and we still haven't fucking seen that. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Quick, just wanted to mention, we did something new tonight. So this podcast you're listening to right now, if you're listening to this not live, is going to be a little bit shorter. We're going to do one segment. But we did something new tonight on the stream. Usually we do like 30 minutes of just shooting the shit and banter and getting, as people kind of stream in or whatever.
Arguing about Star Wars.
Arguing about stupid shit. This week we did something very fun, I think, which was a nice kind of like a warm up for the podcast. Warm up for talking about video games. We did a trailer talk as a group. And I think it was a lot of fun. So
Trailer Talk Live.
You know, we did Trailer Talk Live, and
it was a long version.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the future, if we do these, it'll be like, you know. Not even.
I think at the like doing 2 or 3 trailers before a show is just a nice warm up to get everyone's the juices flowing. You know what I mean? Get us in the right mindset. So just keep that in mind if you want to tune in, catch these live. That's one thing you'll.
I almost added the Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers trailer to the playlist.
Yeah, he updated that playlist live. We're watching a trailer for Kunitsugami, which is the new game from Capcom, and Brad went in there and because of a comment that Chris Davis said and suddenly added a trailer for Otogi, which was such an hard to parse trailer because it's like
I'll get a better
YouTube
quality trailer next time.
But anything could happen. So just keep that in mind. We do record these podcasts live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/4playerpodcast. Keep that in mind. Tune in. You'll catch Trailer Talk live potentially in the future. And yeah, like I said, tonight we don't have a ton to talk about. We're going to talk about Brad's been playing a bunch of Eiyuden Chronicles. Is it called Eiyuden Chronicles? 100 Heroes,
100
right?
Heroes.
Yes.
100 Heroes, which is the spiritual successor to Suikoden.
Yes.
And it's been a long time coming. And of course, we'll do a Fantasy Critic update in a 4-player minute and all that stuff. But without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and say, fuck it, let's go.
Let's go.
Brad, let's
Eiyuden
talk
Chronicles.
about.
Y'all know I
yeah.
like my Suikoden.
I didn't know that about you, actually.
No, say it again. Say it right.
Suikoden.
Suikoden.
Yeah. Shout out to Mapali. Mapali owned you. Anyways. So Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, not to be confused by Rising, which was their sort of like Kickstarter bonus game, that actually prequel game that came out a couple years ago. That was like kind of like a simple side-scrolling action game. That I hear was like okay. This is like the main course, right? This is the big RPG spiritual successor to Suikoden.
The thing
which
we've
is a
been waiting
series
for.
I hold near and dear to my heart. I know a lot of people who love, at least Suikoden 2. That's sort of like the one that people are like, this was a goat. This is the goat. And it is. But I actually kind of fan of that series as a whole. I mean, I really love 1, 2, and 3, especially. This one is a spiritual successor that was kickstarted, and it's very much a spiritual successor to those first 2 Suikoden games, like the early, semi-early PS1 games. At least the first one was. And yeah, it's kind of hard to, talk. I don't know. This one's tricky, right? Because it's a game that I've been waiting for a long time, and it is in the people who want this game. I mean, the people who this game is for are like Suikoden fans, but like that's like a pretty small like niche, right? Indie or throwback JRPGs, both like indie and not indie, are kind of, they're fairly common, right? So it's not like, I feel like when early in Kickstarter's life, you saw a lot of like kickstarted like point and click adventure games, kickstarted CRPGs, kickstarted N64 style platformers, right? And I feel like they were all these games that have been gone for like a long time, or it was the kind of game that publishers didn't want to green light, so everyone went to Kickstarter and they're like, we'll do it here because the fans exist and they want this. And but the truth is, like with JRPGs, even like these retro style JRPGs, Square Enix makes them. Indie developers have been making them, and you've seen a lot on Kickstarter. But like in 2024, like this isn't. It's not unique to have a throwback style like JRPG, right?
No.
But like the thing is, Suikoden is something that is very like distinct. It's a little bit different from your average JRPG, and like this is there foot? Oh yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, it's playing.
This is very much in that formula, right? The thing is, it's also like got some. It also feels a little dated, like an old JRPG. You see a modern JRPGs like so look at like Octopath Traveler 2 or Sea of Stars, or like shit that came out recently, right? Like those 2 games. Like those are very extremely polished games with like a lot of quality of life options, like they look like a game from the 90s, but it doesn't really play like a game from the 90s. It doesn't feel like a game from the 90s. It just feels like a game from 2024.
I mean, I feel like the whole idea of revisiting this style of game and making it in the year of our Lord 2024 is literally to capture the essence of those games, but like with the quality of life enhancements, right?
Yeah. So this feels like a very faithful Suikoden game, and it's like Suikoden like through and through. Like you're going all over the world trying to recruit people to your army. You have your own castle. Your castle grows with you as you hire people or as you recruit people, and they'll kind of live in your castle, and like you expand that castle, and it's that game, right? And like the story and the characters, like there's like really zany characters, and like they'll have different like things that they might need you to do before you can recruit them. Like it's so very Suikoden, and in good ways, right? Like ways that kind of, at first I was a little frustrated with this game because it doesn't have like the quality of life that you see in a lot of like modern takes on this style of game. In a lot of ways, it feels like a PS1 RPG, right? Like you have to hard save at save points, right? And they want you to they want that kind of design, right? They want you to
Is this like
struggle
a
through a dungeon, with the items that you bought way back in town.
is this
And
like a stubborn thing though? Like are they being
no,
like
they're like a Dragon's
th-
Dogma kind of thing. They're doing it on purpose, I think. Like they don't want this. They don't want you to save anywhere. It's so easy to let you do that. You can't even save on the world map. You have to find a save point to save, right? Which is a very like. It's not like that's a problem. I mean, granted, I am
archaic?
playing on hard, but I could see that people thinking like they want a throwback style JRPG, picking this one up and going like, oh no, this isn't just like a throwback style JRPG. This is very much like one of those. Um, so it's kind of lacking some of like the quality of life that you expect, right, from a modern game. But and I'm fine with that, right? Like design sensibilities, right? Dragon's Dogma, right? Like take me back to the olden days where we cared more about the journey, whatever, right? That's fine. But it's also like, and this might just be the fact that it's more of like a budget like Kickstarter style game, but like let me give you an example. This is one of like the most frustrating things for me is like the dialogue in the game, right? Which by the way, fully voice acted,
Fully
right?
voiced.
Which is great. This is a game where you recruit 100+ characters to your army and they all have like fully voiced dialogue. Wonderful. I love that. Suikoden 5 had that and it seemed even impressive. That seemed impressive even back then, and like honestly it still feels impressive, right? We play games like Persona, right? Like some of the biggest budget JRPGs in the world, and there's still like a ton of dialogue that's not voiced there. So, and they could probably afford it, or like Zelda, right? You've heard me rant about that. Like I'm glad that these are fully voiced characters, especially because like there's some pretty like crazy out there characters. There's a magic user lady that I recruited, and she's basically okay. Now, when I say this is a dated reference, that's an
Uh-oh.
understatement. But are you familiar with the character from Police Academy who is like a tiny, like unimposing woman with a really
Yeah.
sweet voice? But then
And then at the end, she's like,
dirtbag,
yeah, yeah,
there is a
yeah, yeah,
character who
yeah.
is basically that in this game, who's like a little imposed, like not imposing, like cleric or whatever. But then she'll like flip out and like her voice will change and she'll start screaming at the people. And I'm like, this is kind of funny. Like it's just a little gimmick. But the fact that it's like fully voiced with like this character who like goes all in, it's like, you know
Is her
what?
name Francesca? Is that who Pocop is
Yeah,
referring to in chat?
Francesca. Yeah, she's wild. And then there's another character who's just like a Sailor Moon character. And it's like fully like, the story doesn't really explain it, but like she's just
Like a
a
magic girl.
magic girl. Yeah, that's what she calls herself, and that's what she is, and she talks like that. And like the first
Does she have
story,
the like transformation sequence when?
she's like in full magic girl all the time.
Okay.
Um, but it's funny
Boo.
because I she'll do like her magic schoolgirl, like she'll be talking like a magic girl, not
She'll
schoolgirl,
be talking like a
like a
magic
Sailor Moon character.
schoolgirl.
And like when she'll do an ability, she'll like yell at something in battle, and like the other characters will be like, "What does that even mean?" Like like they're it's a quirky game with lots of quirky characters, and it's funny. And the first boss fight you get when you recruit her is like really cool. And I'll shout out the boss fights in this game. I did actually come up with a little short list of things where I do actually feel like in a lot of ways it is very faithful and maybe like to a fault how much it's faithful to like old Suikoden, but there have been like some improvements that I do kind of appreciate and I do kind of want to call them out. But I was kind of talking about the dialogue system that I find really frustrating, just to kind of paint the picture of when I say this game feels really dated in terms of like quality of life. It feels like an RPG of like from the PS1 era. You can set the game to like auto advanced dialogue, so it plays automatically. Most games have that, right?
Which you can't
And
even
you
do in Dragon's Dogma 2.
sure,
Sorry.
sure. But like every other game that you've played in the past 2 decades, you can press a button to turn off auto advance. This game, you can't do that. You have to go into the menu to switch from auto advance to like press button advance, right? That's fine. Except when auto advance is on, you also can't pause the game. It just goes
What?
and you can't stop it. It's insane. And you can't switch it to stop playing auto advance. You also have no control over and this one's more of a modern one, but like controlling the pause length between like those dialogue. I've noticed that in some more recent ones where you can like tweak the speed at which like kind of dialogue comes out. That one's a little more modern, I suppose. But the fact that you can't pause it, or the fact that you can't switch from auto advance on and off, that's been around in RPGs for like literally 2 decades. I think that's crazy. You also can't like when you have so it's okay, fine. Turn auto advance off. Just press the button 9 million times. It makes like a beep sound every time you do that. You also can't turn that off, and that's like infuriating. So like I don't want to like press the button to advance the dialogue. It's like desperate need of like just go in there, tweak some settings, make this feel right. This game's not really, it doesn't have that. It's not really concerned with that. And I don't know if it's a design thing or more of the fact that this is sort of like a Kickstarter game made on a budget and no one was really around for this small team to say, hey, maybe this is not cool anymore. But some of that stuff's a little frustrating. And if it wasn't for like the Suikoden charm kind of like wearing me down, I'd probably be way more frustrated with it than I am. Like early on, I was like, come on, y'all, this is fucked up. Like to the point where I was like, do I need to wait for some patches? Because surely there's going to be enough complaints about this shit to where like this is unacceptable. Like for example, again, in town, when you go up to an NPC and you press the button to like see their dialogue box appear, the text will start like appearing slowly. If you press it, there's no button to press it to make it all appear at once so you can read it. If you have auto advance on, if you have auto advance on off, you can do it. But when it's on, if you press a button, you skip the entire dialogue and you're like, well, I can't read that because it's gone now. And I didn't want to wait for it to slowly appear.
Is there any indication this is a studio that's interested in fixing those kinds of things?
I don't know. So it's funny you say that because some of these Kickstarter teams that like get thrown together to like make a game that people really want, sometimes they feel like barely a studio. Like Bloodstain, for example, was a very successful Kickstarter, and they put out, in my opinion, a very successful product. In fact, there's 3 Bloodstain games, and they're all good, real good, with the 2 throwback ones and the Symphony of the Night one, right? Well, they're all throwbacks. The classic Vania games and then the Igavania one.
Which one's
all
the ugly
games. One? To you, they would probably all be ugly.
True.
But there's 2 of them that look like NES games, and then the one that looks like whatever PS1 game. Anyways, they've had a lot of like updates since then because of like stretch goals, and it seems like they're just like barely getting those out the door years later, and they're like very bare bones. And it's like, how much of a team is actually here? Because it feels like it's getting awkward.
Like as soon as they shipped, they just disbanded, and there's like 4 people left.
Well, or how much or they just went on to like projects to like pay their bills. Like I don't know. I don't really know how it works, but like I would love a sequel to Bloodstain, and I hear it's coming. But like, what is that team? Where is that game? Is it like coming anytime soon? I have no idea. And this developer also recently said that yeah, they plan to work on a Eiyuden or 100 Heroes 2 or whatever. But
didn't they go beyond saying they want to do that? Isn't that game officially like? They pretty much said that game is already in development or something.
I think that's what they said. Now, in February, I believe, the creator of, Murayama passed away, which is really sad. But a lot of there's other people who worked on Suikoden games like back in the day, who are still part of this team. So, and they plan to kind of continue on that legacy. So, it's exciting. I've been harping on these like this very specific sort of like negative to like kind of paint a picture of why this feels dated in a lot of ways, and it can be a little frustrating. And if it wasn't for the fact that I really love Suikoden, and the fact that they're really nailing the Suikoden vibe with the castle stuff, with the quirky characters and the recruiting, and again some of the improvements as well, like I would probably be holding it more against this game than I really am, because where I'm at now in this game, 15 hours plus in, like I'm just really enjoying my time with it. This is like, I know this game, I know this kind of game, and like it's absolutely for me. a lot of this is set up to say that like I don't know if this is for people who just want to play a throwback style JRPG, because there's a lot of those that feel really modern, that are a lot more accessible. This I hate to say it, but I do kind of feel like this is maybe just for like Suikoden fans,
So
which
if you've
is
never played a
fine.
Suikoden game, like maybe
Like I don't know if this is the one to run out and play, because in reality, like Suikoden 1 and 2 are getting a remaster. Like we've seen trailers for that. It's
I
probably
keep
coming
forgetting
out
that's
this
a thing.
year.
Yeah.
Like if you've never played Suikoden, play Suikoden 1 and 2 when that comes out, because that's probably going to be less than this. This is like a
Did
40
we
50
have
dollar
we
game,
ever
I think.
gotten have we heard anything about that in terms of like, is that like an HD 2D HD
No, I mean
remake kind of
it's
thing,
not
or is it
like
like a
that. There's a
remaster?
trailer. It's not a Square Enix fancy 2D HD 2D game. It's just a nice remaster.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard it from it in a while. I mean, I'm sure it still exists. Why would it not exist
I'm not
suddenly?
saying it doesn't exist. I just
It's just
didn't
been, it's
know if
just
we
been
knew
a
much
while.
about it.
No, a
Yeah.
lot of people have been like concerned by how long it's been since we've seen it. But that should probably come out this year. I don't know. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to play that. I love those games. I also love the soundtracks in those games, especially the
What about the
first two.
soundtrack here?
There's some nice tracks here. It's not reaching those highs though, really, in my opinion. But there is like the occasion, like I think the castle theme's really good, and like that first town has a really good theme and stuff, and the battle system's pretty good. But like man, back in the day, those themes, those town themes, the world themes when you're exploring the world, that shit was so fucking good.
I mean, it's
Seriously,
kind of the
some
it's
of
kind
my
of the way I
favorite
feel
game
about
soundtracks of all time.
it's kind of the way I feel about like Final Fantasy soundtracks in terms of like, I still don't feel like modern Final with. I mean,
Well, those are
there
just
are
very different.
they're good. Yeah, they're very
This
different,
feels
but
like
like
it's evoking those old Suikoden soundtracks. They're just not quite
just
nailing
not
it
quite in the same level. Yeah, when it
as
comes to
much as
Final
those
Fantasy, I
did.
think they're good soundtracks. I just don't think they have the same like vibe or like, I don't know. It just
The vibe is very different. But like you also like don't easy what you say about like the composer of 14 and 16, because people will kill you for saying that like that shit ain't good enough.
I didn't say
Um,
it's not good enough. It's just not the same, and I've
yeah,
been
it's
waiting for them
different.
to kind of
It's
like
different. This I
capture
don't
that
think
for so
is
long.
different. I just think it's not quite, like
Yeah, wait.
Suikoden.
Did he say something shitty about Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
just it's
14
trash.
soundtrack? First of all, no. Second of all, it's great.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think those soundtracks are pretty
So
good.
I need to
It's not
play.
9, baby. Sorry.
Dude,
Well,
I don't know. I think you should listen to some of the expansion soundtracks because
I
that shit
actually,
gets
I'm not
fucking
gonna-
crazy.
I'm not even lying, Crispy. I have like I have like a massive gaming playlist on like Apple Music or whatever, and I threw in almost all of
The
the Final Fantasy
Shadowbringers
14.
theme. It's
I
so
threw
good.
in all the 14. I've never played Final Fantasy 14, well, beyond like level 20 or whatever. I have all those soundtracks in there. I know they're good. They just don't have the I don't have the connections that I have with the other things, which
so
sucks.
look. I've been playing a lot of this game. I'm going to play a lot more of this game. Before we move on, I do want to run down, because I made a little list here. I started because when I first was thinking about this game, I was like, okay, this is a lot like Suikoden 1 and 2, but really, what is it bringing new to the table? Is it just like, is it improving anything? Obviously maybe the music's not as good. But there are some things that I do think are actual improvements on like the formula from 1 and 2. First of all, there's this thing called like attendant characters, where you have so you have a party of 6 characters, right? You also have a support unit, and this is in past Suikoden games where there are people you recruit to your town slash castle that do things in that castle, but you can bring them along with you, not to battle because they're not really battle characters, but like bringing along like a shopkeeper might give you some bonus while you're exploring the world to whatever, right? you know More resources from this type of node because this is the character who deals with that type of resource back at the castle or whatever. But there's also these 3 extra slots called attendant characters, and these are specific slots for story related characters that you want to bring with you but don't necessarily want in your battle. Sometimes they're like forced on you, but the cool thing about this is because this happens a lot, right? Where stuff in the story's happening, you have to have these characters, including the main character. They're locked. They have to be with you. But you can slot them in the attendants, like the 3 slots of attendant characters, and not actually have to use them in battle. And this is cool because you can even do that with the main character. For every quest in the game, you can have him like never be in your actual battling party. If you say, for example, want to do a team of all cool ladies, like I always do, right? And I don't want that dude. The, which is fine, which is I think is a cool, neat thing because I hate being in a game with so many characters. I hate being forced into using story characters that I don't really want to use in battle, whether because I'm min maxing or I'm just being weird about cool lady characters because that's just kind of how I play these games. I will say though, another improvement is this game has difficulty settings, which is nice because Suikoden, I think, infamously is a pretty easy RPG series. So I immediately jumped to hard because I knew this was going to be a thing. And at first, I was like, "Ah, this is easy. I'm kind of sleeping through these battles." But I've been running into boss battles that have been kicking my ass now at the point I am in the game, and I'm like, I'm loving it, right? Because I'm actually having to think about battles and party composition. I went into a boss fight that was like damaging with like physical attacks, so painfully damaging with physical attacks that my team of like ladies, and let me tell you, it's a little tropey, but in these games, the ladies are usually like the fast characters or like the magic characters, right? And never like the beefy tanks. But I needed beefy
Boo.
tanks, so I swapped out all my ladies for the beef boys and destroyed that boss. But I was getting my ass kicked. I kind of had to do it, and it's silly, but I'm glad that the game pushed me to the point where like I had to give up on my own personal
You
handicap of
had to
only
make some
using
choices.
squishy ladies. Sorry, that sounds weird. Also, real quick, the fact that they show the battle
Uh,
order in combat is like a first
intrusive
for the
thought.
series. But like actually showing the battle order is really nice because not only are you seeing when you and the enemy's going, so you're actually kind of seeing that speed chart, but like there are certain skills like using items or certain abilities that actually have like less of a like not a casting time, but like can move you up in that battle order, which again is just leading for battles to be, it kind of lets them be more challenging because you can be a little bit more tactical with it. And again, it's nice for a series that has always notoriously had a really simple battle system. They have found a way to add just enough complexity to where I actually get to think about combat and not constantly do auto battle, at least in boss battles. Again, full voice acting is nice. So upgrading your castle in Suikoden games, again, it's in all of them, but it usually comes from like it grows basically as you recruit characters. You'll recruit certain types of characters that will offer like certain services in your castle now, so you don't have to like find some random town to like smith your weapons or whatever, right? And the castle grows as you recruit characters. But this game actually has sort of like a castle tech tree where you're actually like investing money and resources to actually add additions onto your castle, which is again a little thing, but like adding just a little bit more depth to that aspect, actually pretty smart. Again, boss fights really good in this game, can be really challenging. Also have really cool gimmicks. They even call them like boss gimmick like functions that you do in battle to like interact with certain things, like that magical schoolgirl battle. She dropped down like giant like magical tomes on each side of the battlefield and was like, yo, hit one of these tomes, and would like summon a cool like crazy like mech thing to like attack the enemy. But like the enemy kept shifting and I had to kind of guess which one to attack at the right time, and it was either going to be like a huge miss or like a really powerful attack. And it's just again, traditionally very simple combat system with very simple like even like boss mechanics. They're adding just enough little like flavor and depth in there to kind of make it fun. I'm kind of enjoying it. Also, real quick, no silent protagonists. Almost every Suikoden game
Ooh.
has silent protagonists, and I fucking hate silent protagonists. Here, you actually have a voice protagonist who, isn't afraid to, you know, he's funny. He's goofy. I like him. He started to get into like the magical girl stuff when she was doing all her weird shit and doing the chants with her in that battle. And there's this one character who her name is Periel, Lady Periel. She is like my queen. I haven't felt like as loyal to like some badass character since Meve from Queen Meve from Witcher Tales. You remember Witcher Tales, the Gwent RPG? Love that.
Yeah.
Meve was so I haven't felt like as much loyalty when she's talking shit to like, these this nation.
Is this
that's
the character that
warring
you said in Discord? You're like, I've been playing this game for like an hour and I've already found my wife. Like, is that?
Well, I've had many wives, but this is the one that I will die for. Basically, I will fight for her to the end. She's just a really well voice acted, written character, and she's awesome. I'm just a little worried because she reminds me of a character in the first Suikoden game that didn't, or who am I thinking of? Oh yeah, Odessa, who didn't meet like a great end. So I'm worried for this
You're
character
setting
because
yourself
again,
up for
it's
tragedy?
very similar. It's very similar to there's a lot of similarities here, right? You know, like the main character is very much like the main character of Suikoden 2 and 1, and like his best friend slash enemy is very much similar to you know, that character from Suikoden 2. So I'm seeing a lot of parallels here, and I hope she doesn't meet a horrible end, but I'm a little worried. But she's awesome. Periel,
It's
Lady
kind of a
Periel,
general question because I've
all-star
never played
character.
because I've never played Suikoden.
Yeah.
Is like kind of the overarching story of Suikoden worth asking about? Like, is it like do people care a lot about that story?
It's very, you know, it's like very political, Game of Thronesy kind of stuff. A lot of like treachery and backstabbing, but you know, there's a lot of like quirkiness to it as well. It's not as like dark as like a Matsuno story, but it is that sort of like territory. Obviously, I'm into that sort of thing, which is why I like Matsuno games. Why I like Suikoden. And this is that, right? It's a lot of like warring nations and
with so many characters. Is there just like a huge chunk of swath of these characters that have like no actual like impact on like the larger story, or do they all somehow play a role?
So you kind of have like a main cast, and again, this is every Suikoden game where you feel like there's a main cast and you recruit a lot of characters, and for the most part, like, you know, they'll be around the castle, they'll have their things. When you're introduced to them, they're like have their fun, quirky moments, and maybe some of them will kind of like find their way into the story, but in reality, they kind of just become these characters that are, you know,
supporting cast.
And they're not really there for like the big story moments. But again, one thing here, and it was actually the last thing on my list, so we can move on, is they are actually finding ways just to like give them a little bit of dialogue here and there. And maybe it's a little generic, but it's not always generic. And it is voiced to where, depending on who you bring with you, they'll have that like one of those random characters who are not part of the main cast chime in. And I'm like, okay, this is nice, because you almost never saw this in old Suikoden games, but I've noticed it more and more. I'm like, wait, why did she just say that? Because the game, I definitely didn't have to bring her, and I know it was only one line, but it's nice, especially because it was voiced. So like they either recorded a lot of these one-off lines for a lot of different characters, but it was nice to see like the shopkeeper that I bring with me, because it lets me swap out my characters at save points. That's like her support function, right? Chime in on like a story conversation, like not a big story moment, but it's like it's considered, because that's always been sort of the complaint. That was like like in a lot of JRPGs where you recruit a lot of characters, like Chrono Cross or something, right? Where you'll recruit the characters, but once they're in your party, it's like, well, the story can't accommodate all those characters, so they don't really become characters. They're not really characters anymore, just in battle, right? So it's neat. It's neat. So there are enough like cool, interesting improvements to, you know, kind of like impress me as a humble Suikoden fan, to be honest.
A humble Suikoden fan.
Yeah.
Have you found Pocop yet?
No, but he did post so Pocop famously goes hard on some Kickstarters. This is
is that
so he's actually an NPC in the game.
What?
Because he hit the backer level that put his NPC in
our
the game.
very own community.
Wasn't Pocop the one that tried to get the jacket from the
he
Wonderful
got the
101?
Yes, which again,
I don't think
he didn't
Pocop
get it, right?
Pocop's in chat.
Was that the Wonderful 101 jacket?
Yeah, Pocop.
That
He never got the
sick.
jacket.
You never got the jacket?
He never got it.
God.
That's another one of these Kickstarters where it's like,
I'd
they
sue.
mean well, but it's like these companies that are thrown together, or like supporting companies that support these Kickstarters.
Come on, Kamiya.
They don't always have their fucking shit together, and it sucks because they screw over the people who like spend the most money on some of this shit.
Oh,
But you know, they can write it off as saying like, we're just a Kickstarter, you know, we mean well and we want to hit all our goals, but in reality, you're just given to the project, and it's kind of like a bullshit thing at the end of the day, and it's frustrating. But at least Pocop is in the game, although
That's cool.
Pokop, can you explain the name that you chose for your character? Because it's not just
not
Pokop.
It's
Pokop.
Pokap.
Pokop. Poocat Pokop. I don't know the origin of Poocat, but you're in my Suikoden game now, breaking my immersion a little bit. So what the fuck?
My immersion.
What does Poocat mean?
Poocat, like Poocat? Poocat?
Yeah, what's the origin of Poocat? It's bad. I posted a screenshot of like a backer portrait. You see this in actually kind of a handful of JRPGs. Yeah. I mean, Kickstarter games. There's like an actual like painted portrait on the wall of like one of the main, like in like the main first town, and it's just like, you know, it's a fucking dweeb. I mean, we're Suikoden fans. We're fucking dweebs, and this dude's like king of the dweebs, and it's like, get out of my fucking game, dude. He's wearing like a polo. Come on, at least put on a tunic or something, you asshole. I don't know. Who's that guy? Is he like the #1 backer? Fucking dude.
Oh my god. Pokop
I
says,
didn't realize it. What's his name?
Pokop says it's mostly a joke I came up with when I became a VTuber. I was like, whatever, I'll be a cat, and poop is usually associated with cats.
A
so,
feces
you know,
cat.
A feces cat.
Poo cat?
Oh my god.
But man, I'm having a good time. Do I recommend it to everyone? I don't know. Maybe wait for some patches. Maybe wait for a sale. Maybe play the original Suikoden game. But even though I've been saying that, like, you know, in our Discord on air or whatever, I've had a lot of people kind of come back at me and say, look, dude, I never played those fucking games. I'm enjoying myself. So, you know, fuck you. I'm like, okay,
Then,
more power to you. I mean,
fuck you. I don't know what's going on.
I'm not
there.
saying this is some like unplayable relic. I mean, I think a lot of RPGs from the PS1 era, Super Nintendo era, whatever, you could still go back and have a plenty, you know, gay old time or whatever, right? I'm just saying, like, you know, it feels a little bit different than something like an Octopath Traveler 2. And I just want to warn people going into it, you know, you're going to have to be comfortable with something that feels like it's a little bit older.
Right.
Yeah, but I fuck, dude, it already is sort of like living up to my expectations, because I didn't expect this to be like I didn't draft this in Fantasy Critic, because what I expected for it is kind of where it shook out, honestly, in terms of Metacritic score or whatever. And I never, like, classic Suikoden games also scored around that, right? You know, like Suikoden 2, one of the most beloved JRPGs of all time. When it first came out, someone pointed out on game rankings for years until it got like a re-release on PS3, was this in a game in the 70s on game rankings, which is like, in hindsight, blasphemous. But also, you know, it didn't look like Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy 9, so, you know, it didn't get those scores, right?
Maybe in 20 years we'll look back and we'll be saying the same thing about this game.
Well, I don't know. Apparently, Jason Schreier was disappointed, so that's like a big deal. Whatever. At least people are.
But he's like a
gigantic
Suikoden fan, from what I understand.
thought
he is.
Well, what does he know about video games?
Yeah, what is he?
He's only written several books about them.
I could have sworn I saw Jason Schreier tweeting before he could even admit that this is what he was playing, but we all
Donald
knew
Trump wrote a book about business.
I thought he was like having a love affair with this game. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
So when he first started playing it, and he was saying like, I can't wait to talk about this game in a couple of weeks when it was still under embargo or whatever. Like, yeah, it seemed like he was really vibing with it, which I am right now either. But like, he has since finished it and was saying, well, in the end, I was kind of disappointed with some of the story and the characters, and like, that's fine. Maybe he's right. I have not finished this game, which is why I'm not going to be one of these people who are like, well, fuck Jason Schreier, he likes Ni no Kuni too. People are like trying to undercut him and stuff, and I'm like, well,
what's wrong with Ni no Kuni too?
You haven't. Maybe he's fucking right, because you know what happened last year? Final Fantasy 16. He's like, yo, this game is dope. I'm loving it, but you know what? The story kind of falling apart for me. A little disappointed with it in the end. And this was before the game came out. People tore him a new one. Like, you motherfucker. How dare you disrespect Yoshi P and this and that. You has been. You love Ni no Kuni too. How dare you? And, you know, in hindsight, most people would be saying, shit, Jason Schreier was right about 16. Fuck, that game is dog shit. He is on the more positive end now. You know, but with pre-release, he was enemy #1 just because he was being fucking honest. So I don't know. Maybe don't jump down the guy's throat till you're done with Eiyuden.
This is definitely why we can't have nice things.
But yeah.
But yeah,
That's that.
Yeah. Well, anyways, who'd have thunk it? In the year 2024, we're playing, or not all of us, but a spiritual successor to something like Suikoden exists. That's pretty cool.
Honestly shocking.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can,
So
this is Suikoden 6. We can call it Suikoden 6 at
we
this
can call
point.
it Suikoden 6?
It is that faithful.
That's pretty
Dang.
cool.
Okay.
All right. Like I said, we're gonna keep it kind of short tonight. So we're gonna go. I want to do a Fantasy Critic update, and then we'll do 4-player minute. Fantasy Critic.
treachery, you mean?
Wait, what?
Fantasy Critic treachery.
What is the
Nick.
treachery here? What is this treachery you speak of?
You.
Me?
I
What did you
really,
do?
really wanted Lorelei and the laser.
Yeah, no shit. We all did.
I know you did. Why do you think I bid $21 on that shit? I bid 21 hoping that maybe the highest someone would go was 20.
Find a preview that doesn't mention Oberdin, The Witness, Tunic, Fez. Like every single one of these previews is mentioning those games. And let me tell you, those are like magic words to me and everyone here, really.
Yeah, but
that means what that tells me
right?
is that this game is going to be special. That's what that game tells me. That's what that tells me. So,
and I'm coming. You're talking to someone who bounced off of Yearwalk and never played their follow up. I never played. What was it called?
Device 6. Device 6 is
yeah.
a very different game than Yearwalker and most of their other games.
But
in fact, this game is probably most similar to Device 6, like a pretty hardcore puzzle game.
It has contributed to their legacy, if you will. And Lorelei and the Laser Eyes wasn't even really on my radar until last year when somebody drafted it. I don't remember if it was drafted
me.
or if it was on later.
Fucking me.
No, but was it a draft?
This shit.
Was it a draft or a later year pickup?
No.
Remember.
It was probably Drunken Merchant who's kind of been standing this game. It's like, why aren't y'all drafting this? Why aren't y'all drafting this? And last year, hindsight, the game didn't ship, so it's kind of good that we didn't. But it's funny. I had this conversation with Nick, and I feel like if I didn't have this conversation, maybe he wouldn't have spent as much money. But I was like, no, Nick, he's right to be excited. Simogo has never shipped anything lower than an 80. Like this is a developer to watch for. Like this shit is a guaranteed dub. Like I know a lot of people aren't talking about it, but this is a sleeping giant. I feel like we had that conversation, and now I'm kicking my own ass because maybe this one would have flown under the radar a little bit for you.
I was not thinking of that conversation when I decided to bid on this. It was mostly just because there was a flood of previews and
there was. If you're on Twitter or whatever, then you would.
And I know so many people have been like, you're a crazy person for not playing Yearwalk. It's fucking amazing, and I know that's true.
Now that Brad mentions it, Device 6 was also pretty wild.
Yeah.
That
and I looked that up too. I looked up Yearwalk and Device 6, and I think Device 6 had a mid 80s. I think in Open Critic.
No, Device 6 has a 92.
Oh, then
Sayonara Wild Hearts is at an 86, I think.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
They made Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is again a banger from a few years ago. I love that.
But also a game that has a very distinct personality, and I don't know. I'm just, the funny thing is, I don't even know how I truly feel about this game because I've never actually played one of Simogo's. Is it Simogo's what the studio's called, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Simogo.
I've never played one of their games and had it stick with me.
Nick, but this is the one for you. This is like The Witness meets classic Resident Evil.
I know. That's certainly helping.
Yeah, this is the one.
You'll never love it like I would, Nick. You'll never appreciate it the same way.
Well, it's on my list, so I'm the only one who can truly love it, okay?
Well, because you had $21. I literally did not have...
This was my first...
I have to buy a super drop. But see, this is why the super drop is interesting, right? Because it means we can't be crazy with our money. And it was to the point where I could have maybe outbid you, but I would have not been able to afford the super drop. And I need to have that option. So it's
I feel pretty good about my last two pickups. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Now, I got a pickup as well that honestly, I bid on SteamWorld Heist, not expecting to get it, but I wanted to force the bid because SteamWorld Heist 2, I assumed that people would outbid me. I only did $2. And it was honestly, it was the point was for it to be a distraction, so people would bid on that and
Instead of
won't pay
Lorelei?
too much attention to like Lorelei, because I didn't want to only bid on Lorelei and have that be the only bid for the week, especially after this indie.
I almost
thing.
bid on both. I'm gonna be honest.
All right, well,
Yeah.
when I start actually playing Fantasy Critic this summer, you guys are in trouble.
You
Okay?
I was
son of
gonna
a
say,
bitch.
because I wondered, I was like, Lorelei, sure, I could see that one flying under the radar, but why didn't people bid on Heist 2? There's a lot of people on our podcast that really liked that first SteamWorld Heist game, right? So why are they
I have
Nolan
been
would've gone
so
for it
out of the loop
immediately.
for the last like 2 months. I just
Yeah, Nolan must have been busy. He was just not, because I
He's got a lot
love
going on right
Heist
now,
1.
so-
I think Heist 1 is their best SteamWorld, that dev's best game. And I'm super excited for this sequel. So, but I really didn't expect to get it because I don't have a lot of money left. So I just did a couple
What are you at,
bucks,
money wise?
not counting the super drop.
Super drop? Yeah.
I have
So you-
$15. Now, here's the thing. I'm confident I could pick up games for $1 because later in the year, I mean, there's a million cool looking indies, right? I'm not worried about that. But if you look at my list, and I'll do this real quick. So pre Heist 2, I had 4 empty slots, right? But if you look a little closer at my list, and at the ones I've drafted, Hollow Knight might not ship. Unannounced Mario platformer is probably not going to ship. That rumored Astrobot game might not exist. Mina the Hollower has a good chance of not coming out. So not only did I didn't have 4
Suddenly you have
slots.
8
I needed
slots
to
to
make
fill.
sure I had enough money for potentially 8 slots. And at that point, it's like, so when I made the decision to put down $10 for Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, I had $17 to buy 8 games. And I put down $10 for Lorelei, which was giving me $7 to pick up the rest of the potential 7 games that I needed in the worst case scenario. That's how confident I was. It was all of my money when I put down $10 for Lorelei. I really wanted it.
It's getting interesting, but I feel like Crispy and Carlos maybe. I don't think Carlos has drafted anything. Maybe I could be wrong.
I've tried.
Also,
I've tried.
Carlos.
What did you
because
try for?
Stuff like Braid Anniversary, it's like that's such an easy dub. Why aren't
Took
people
one or
throwing money
two
at it?
things from me, Nick? I can't remember what.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now. Carlos and Crispy have not picked up anything. Ed is down a game, so he needs to. So it's almost like he hasn't picked up anything.
I'm gonna end up dropping a lot of this. I mean, some of this stuff.
By the way,
but
I see somebody in chat, Gleeger in chat asked if there's a link to the list. I will say yes. You can do 2 things. If you want to see a link, if you want to see all of our current lists, you can go to 4playernetwork.com. Scroll down a little bit. I have the Google Doc that I personally update. Is there where you can see all of our lists side by side. You can also go to the welcome channel in Discord, and there's a link to all of the Fantasy Critic, the community leagues, and our league as well.
Yeah, you both have stolen games from me, you motherfuckers.
Fuck yeah, I have.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you took Lorelei. Well, I didn't really bid on that, but I still consider it a steal. But Brad fucking scooped Satisfactory, which is not fair because I've put like 30 hours into that game. I know it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You're full of shit.
What was it that I stole from you,
I got
Christy?
spendy on that
I know
one.
I stole something.
He's running out of money, so you'll be able to
running out of money.
swoop in and pick some stuff up pretty easily.
Look, I'm gonna be bidding $1 for like all kinds of indies. So
It is
if you really
only
want 'em,
April.
just
No. Chris
We
Davis,
can't
you
all
didn't.
be Chris Davis with a full list in April, or almost full list.
it's crazy to look at our community
No,
leagues because
Chris Davis, you didn't
many
take
are
anything from me
full
this year.
But they're
You
also
took
shorter
one thing.
lists.
You outbid me for like City Skylines 2 or something last year, and I
year.
didn't even want it. I just like bid on it because I felt like I needed to fill out my list, and that was like August or something. I don't know.
Are
It
you
ends up being
Venture
an L anyways.
Industries? No, that's
No.
Okay.
Hell no.
Yeah,
No, he's the.
there's so many.
Hey,
cool indies coming
Eiyuden
out,
Chronicles is 76. That's 6 points.
Yep. And again, a few weeks ago we did an episode where we kind of dedicated a segment to just kind of going over all the community leagues. So again, thank you to everyone in the community who's playing along this year. It's been a lot of fun. We will do a check-in with the community leagues again, probably by the end of June or so. I think we're gonna try and do those every 3 months or so.
I'm calling out Ed too. I feel like where was Ed on some of these bids?
I'm calling you
I feel like
I mean-
Lorelei would have been. He would have spent money on that. What I mean, that's his type of game as well. So like, where's
Tis
Ed?
true, tis true. But he's got some heavy hitters on his list too.
Yeah, well, just watch
Um,
out when Space Marine 2
Stellar
comes
Blade's
out
coming
at the
out
end of this
soon.
year.
Fucking
one.
Stellar Blade, which is on Ed's list, is coming out.
Which I
Who's-
counterpicked,
and
so
who-
I need it to be really bad.
Chris Davis needs
Oh,
Stellar
you
Blade to be
counterpick
bad.
Stellar Blade?
Yeah.
I
Uh-oh.
don't think it's gonna be like tragic or anything. If that's what you're expecting.
I'm gonna guess Stellar
Right-
Blade
right.
74.
I'll take
Oh.
74. That's
Y'all
acceptable.
want to see? There's an era poll for what score predictions.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Have you
it
seen
was
it?
predicting
Chris
low
Davis?
80s.
It's not looking good for you.
I could also see that. By the way, hello to Ninja Kitty Cat in chat for being first time chatter. Anyways, is that all for Fantasy Critic we have right now? I mean, pretty high profile pickups and stuff. And guys, I feel like we're kind of entering. Well, I say we're entering kind of a lull in terms of news, but at the end of in May we have a big Microsoft indie thing, which Chris Davis has pointed out he thinks Silksong could be there, but some of us also think
it
that
has
it could
now
also be
been
in
rated
June.
in 2 different regions. It's
Yeah.
coming out.
It's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be the indie thing, or it's gonna be like a major showpiece during their big June showcase.
Maybe Microsoft. There's no world
It's
where
100%
Microsoft
gonna be at
doesn't
Microsoft.
hand them
It's-
enough money to because it's a Game Pass thing. They've featured it at major shows before.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way.
No doubt it's coming.
Now
One
the
of
thing
those
is, did they
presentations.
give them enough money to shadow drop it? Because shadow dropping Silksong is big enough to where it doesn't need like a marketing cycle. Honestly, it's
It's
huge.
got a
It's like a
built-in
meme.
marketing cycle.
It's a big deal. And enough money from Philly Spence, maybe it'd be a shadow drop, which is crazy.
Nobody's
Right?
ever said Philly Spence before.
Yeah, what the fuck
I
is
know.
that?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Old Philly
Um,
cheese stick.
Philly D.
Yeah. So my point is, we're kind of in like a slow part of the year in terms of like news and stuff because I think everyone's kind of holding stuff back for the usual non E3 showcases, which are
Yeah.
coming up here pretty quick. I think
But
there's
I mean,
even a
the
rumored Sony
fall
presentation
is-
here in May.
The fall is just such a big mystery for this year of releases.
Just
It's almost
feels like
always
it.
a mystery.
look at Pio's list, man. There's all kinds of shit coming.
Actually, yeah, I even have there's actually quite a bit of stuff that already have dates for the fall.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the big names, the Sonys and Nintendos of the world, like
Here, let me tell you. This is I would say we have Black Myth Wukong, Star Wars Outlaws, Stalker 2, Warhammer,
Black Myth
Sport-
Wukong's gonna fucking pop.
Space Marine 2,
I mean,
Space Marine 2 is gonna pop.
Shadow
No.
of the Erd Trees in June, baby. There's a
Hey,
lot of stuff, man.
That's
when does
DLC.
Metroid Prime 4 come out?
yeah, that's the thing. You think that we're gonna run into these like June showcases and they're not gonna have like big games for the fall? Like, look, every year is like this. We'll be fine.
It's gonna be
There's
a
gonna be a new
bloodbath.
Astrobot
we'll have plenty of-
platformer that comes out this fall.
Chris Davis isn't gonna be fine.
Well, Chris Davis won't be fine.
Damn,
He's got the
Chris
Indiana Jones game though. Is
Well,
the Indiana
Nintendo-
Jones game not big
Nintendo
enough for you?
fucked me. Nintendo fucked me.
Nintendo-
You
No.
fucked you. What are you
yourself.
talking about? You're the one who was like, Metroid Prime 4 and an unannounced Donkey Kong game are both coming out this year.
And No Rest for the Wicked,
You
which is
did
early
both of
access.
those?
I didn't know that. I
Yes!
did not know that was early access.
He didn't know that. He didn't.
I
know
did not
No Rest
know
of the
that.
Wicked.
Also, like
Me and Ed looked at each other during the draft and we were like, "Oh shit!" No one say anything. Yeah, that was rough. But
That
you
was-
know, look, we all took L's. I got that 3D platformer. I was like,
Again,
I'm gonna be
guys.
spicy this year. I got on base last year and won. Now I'm gonna be stupid like Chris Davis.
I
And
do
drafted
just really hope
unannounced
that-
game, and now look at me. Now look
I
at
do
me.
really hope that Chris Davis is the person who takes wild gambles and then
Dude,
wills
also-
something into existence.
I
You
have
wanna
two
talk about
unannounced
wild-
games.
You want to talk about wild gambles? Brad counterpicked Space Marine 2.
Okay, that's not a gamble. Shut up.
That's a gamble.
I have
I
two
think-
unannounced games on my list.
That's
I feel
gonna
like everybody here, I feel like everybody who plays in our league this year, if they're wise, would use a super drop to drop one of their counter picks. Like it's been that counter
No,
picks
but
were that wild.
remember, a super drop is just a 77, right?
I know,
Like,
but like there's
you're still losing 7 points.
what I'm saying is most people have counterpicked at least one game that I think is a pretty safe bet is going to score higher than a 77.
You're
which
right,
means you're going to
but
lose
remember,
points.
Nick, the reason we tried
No.
to balance out that counterpick thing is to make it not be like the obvious choice. And remember, if you drop a game that's actually on your list, not a counterpick, you still have the potential to replace it with something that does score really well. So it is for the people who got really fucked on a counterpick, right?
Right.
Like a Prince of Persia.
My point is that the counter picks were so hard this year because there are so many games. It's hard to find a game to take a chance on as far as counter picks go.
There was like 2 givens,
Everybody.
and that was it.
It was tough.
Everybody could use their counter pick on at least one of their.
The only safe ones were the ones
or super
that
drop on the counter pick.
people made against Chris Davis.
Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
One of those was definitely safe.
2 of
I didn't
those.
know that was early access.
I just hate Carlos, man.
What are you talking about?
Last year, Carlos fucked me with Ultra Kill.
I'm not talking about what Carlos said. I'm talking about what
this
Chris
year-
Davis said, where he said the only risky one is the one that's in early access. Meanwhile, he's got Metroid Prime 4 on his list. What are you talking about, Chris Davis? I'm sorry. You're going to lose.
Look, I want Metroid Prime 4 to come out.
Yeah, I do too, but it's not coming out this year. I'm sorry.
Unannounced Donkey Kong game, though? Come on.
I
Maybe.
unexpectedly, so I had family in town, and Robin's brother was here, and it was one of the first times I've had a chance to like talk to Robin's brother about video games. Because I know he plays video games, but I just haven't had many opportunities. Turns out he's really fucking excited about Metroid Prime. I was like, oh,
Is he? Who is it?
Then we
Yeah,
got-
I mean, it's an old series. But look, the educated, people. I mean, and look, everyone thought the Switch 2 was going to be coming out this fall. And
Yes!
when you believe that, some of these Nintendo picks aren't as crazy as you're making them out to be.
Thank
They're
you, Brad.
insane.
No.
They're
I don't think- I
In
don't-
insane.
hindsight, they're crazy because now me and Chris
Alright.
Davis are both
I mean,
fucked.
maybe
but-
you take maybe you get a wild hair and take a roll of dice on one of them, but 2.
2 of them is bold. Two of them is bold.
two of them is
on.
bold.
Metroid
Hey,
come
Prime and
on.
Donkey Kong?
If the Switch 2 was launching this year, that would be an incredible launch.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's probably not. But here's the good thing.
I rolled
Even
on Mario because that shit would have been like a 97 on Metacritic.
Here's the only silver lining to all this is that there is still a pretty good chance they're going to announce the Switch 2 this year.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance they could announce a release date or a window for
but
one
he's
or
got
more of those
counterpicked.
games
That's the problem.
for
He's
next
got
year, and then
counterpicked.
you can drop them. Oh wait, no, they're
He's got-
counterpicked.
Yeah.
You can't-
My
You
Mario
sit
wasn't
there-
counterpicked.
Yeah,
You-
welcome
you
to my
sit
hell,
here-
Nick. Thank you.
sit here, Chris Davis, and you talk about how great of a launch for the Switch 2 that would be, and all I hear is Lenny talking about the rabbit hutch, man. It's like
I know.
Crispy,
Oh.
we're broadcasting to Zoomers. They don't know what. My
read a
is.
fucking book, people.
No, they don't.
Okay. On that note, let's go ahead. Like I said, it's a shorter show this week. Let's wrap up with the 4-player minute. I'm gonna pass it over to Brad to start us off.
Having somebody else this week.
Crispy, start us off.
How much do you want to hear about Destiny?
I want to hear about it so bad.
Please.
I feel like we've
So,
finally seen.
Let's talk
Destiny.
about Destiny without looking at it because it looks.
As is tradition.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want to talk about it if I can't show you, but I will. It's pretty cool, man. Been getting some god rolls of those new weapons from the Brave Arsenal they put out. This week they're adding 2 more that I can't remember, but whatever. That's fun. That's cool. I will say that like I'm doing a lot of LFG stuff in Destiny, especially this last week. A lot of like raids and dungeons where like I have to interact with people and not just interact with them, but like talk to them. I have to
Ew.
like go into LFG channels on Discords. I have to use the in-game Find a Fire Team feature. And I will say this, the people who play Destiny at 4 a.m. on a weeknight suck.
They're locked
I
in.
hate them. Like
Oh,
they
you
just
hate them, okay.
they just all suck. Like they just like I'm one of those people, but it's like, man, you guys are dicks. Like everyone, it's not great. And Nick, I will say, because Nick, you were like, oh, this is really cool. That looks great. Like, what is it like for new players getting into Destiny? And I will say that is like that is traditionally a pain point for a lot of people because Destiny is really complicated. It also has kind of a convoluted story. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening, and the new player experience, it's not like Final Fantasy. Remember you tried to play Final Fantasy 14, and they were like, okay, start back here in the 2014 content and work your way up?
Right.
That's not what they do in Destiny. In Destiny, they've like changed the player onboarding experience. You can't play like the original campaign. You can't play like the first 3 expansions. So like,
What?
yeah, you're like 6 years behind on the story, and they're just gonna kind of be like catch as catch can.
Wait, so that original campaign just doesn't exist anymore?
It doesn't exist. It's called the
No.
Red War, and it does not exist anymore. You cannot play it in any form.
I
You
hate
also
this.
can't play Curse of Osiris, you can't play Warmind, you can't play Forsaken, which Forsaken is one of the best expansions in Destiny's history. It's the expansion where Cade 6 gets killed. That's also the one that
Now you're spoiling the story for him.
yeah.
You can't play it.
You can't play it. You have
Well,
to
you
know
gotta
that
wait
he's
for-
dead. You have to know that he's dead though to know that like him coming back in final shape is crazy. Like
he's gotta wait for Destiny Classic to come.
yeah,
out.
he's got to wait
That's
for the
that is
Destiny
insane.
Classic.
That's like somebody telling me, like, man, this Halo series is so good, but you can't play
The
Halo 1,
game,
2, or 3.
like not only that, like the whole game has changed so much over its development. Like it didn't used to have the RPG mechanics that it has now. You couldn't do build crafting. I mean, it's like, yeah, Glegger in chat mentions WoW Classic. It's kind of like that, where like WoW got so many expansions and so much change over the years that like they were cutting out old content and replacing it with newer, like new player experiences. Destiny did that in about half the time though. Like
Jesus.
like it's kind of wild. And the onboarding experience for new players is notoriously like kind of convoluted and doesn't yeah, it's weird. And they've kind of streamlined it a little bit. This last update, they added a new thing that's like new player kits where it's like you can, like, the big quality of life improvement that they made is that you can skip the new player onboarding and just like go to the tower. You can pick up a kit that's like a subclass, a bunch of legendary gear, and an exotic, and like just kind of go and start grinding out for to hit power cap.
That is
Um,
crazy.
it's wild. It's weird. And when you hear something like that, you might be like, that sucks. But I will say that like the content that you're working towards, the content that you're trying to play at endgame, because the entire game is endgame. Like when you're getting into like I've been playing dungeons that I've never played before. I've been playing raids that I've never played before, and every single one of them, I'm like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like it's so much fun. It's so cool. But it's so weird and broken, and I like it's like I'm at a point now in the game where it's like I need a regular fire team to do some of the stuff I want to do, but I can't in good conscience like recommend my friends who don't play. I can't be like, hey, you should download Destiny and play with me. Like I can't do it. I can't even recommend friends who used to play Destiny to come back because it's so different now. Like it's
What a wild journey.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating in a really cool way, but I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of rumors now, and if they're true, we could be seeing Destiny 3 in a few years. So
Maybe I should. Maybe if I'm interested in Destiny, I should just wait and then see if I want to jump on the bandwagon with 3.
Despite all of this, it's like world building, it's lore, it's like whole vibe is still like my favorite in gaming.
No, that trailer that we watched during trailer talk tonight was really cool. Like I really liked it.
It's so good. And when you actually like dig into the lore, like when you're going out of your way to read like audio logs and like lore books and like literal like novels worth of information in the game that you can unlock and read, some of that stuff is so fucking wild. Like it's just so cool. I don't know. It's weird. I'll let you know how Final Shape is though.
Cool. Yeah, I think I might just wait and see if we luck out, and then if I want to try Destiny, I'll just like jump on board with 3 and hopefully start on the same playing field as everybody else.
We'll see.
Fuck.
Speaking of cool, Nick,
let's pass it over to Chris
I'd like
Davis.
to spend my 4-player minute to shout out.
I'm just kidding. It's your turn, Brad. Go ahead.
Lakeith Stanfield is in talks to star in and produce an El Paso Elsewhere film, which is fucking wild. It's like the indie game I felt like only I played last year. You know, like I tried to get other people to play. It was definitely not big, but it was really good, and I love the story. And you know, this happens a lot where it's like, you know, there's going to be a film based on this property or this property, and it's like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But just to see like this game in the news with like, you know, an actor I really like. I love Lakeith Stanfield, and I don't know, like I love that game. It's crazy to see it like a fucking article on Variety or whatever fucking film website, you know, was talking about, you know, Hollywood, mention El Paso Elsewhere. It's like fucking double take for me. It's like, really? That's fucking crazy, because who's even played that goddamn game? But hey, man, I believe it. The only thing that's a little weird, right, is it has like strong Max Payne vibes, and Max Payne has a little rocky history with the the world of bad film adaptations, video game to film adaptations. So I can imagine this would be a little more like weird and indie and cooler than that. But
I can't help. I mean,
I'll believe it when I see it.
I do think we kind of live in a golden era of like game to film adaptations, but at the same time, I say that knowing there's only been like 2 really good ones. You could maybe make an argument for the Super Mario Brothers movie being really good because it was just so like authentic feeling. But well, I don't know.
We live in a world like video game to big screen, small screen adaptations. It's the new fucking MCU, right? Just on a smaller scale, right? Like these are,
but they're
taking them more seriously. People are spending money. They're going to see them. They're showing up, right?
It's not the same thing as the MCU because they're not all connected. But
no. I don't mean connected like in that. I mean like comic book adaptations blowing up. Oh, now I feel like video games are the new like, hey,
which is good because we have wanted good adaptations for so long.
Have I? I don't really care.
Maybe
about,
not, maybe not you specifically, but I think the gaming community and at large has always like, if you're gonna make these things, if you're going to adapt them, at least try to make them faithful, to make them quality. And it's just been just failure after failure after failure. So to finally see things like The Last of Us and Fallout, and that even that Mortal Kombat movie they did a year or 2 ago was like really cool. They're making a sequel to that, and Super Mario Brothers, like it's happening. Is it going to happen with something like El Paso Elsewhere?
I don't know. You get the right people. Know. It happens, man. There was a Twisted Metal show.
It
survived. It's getting to season 2.
You know what I mean? It was better than I think it had any right to be.
Better than it shouldn't even exist.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Because the game series does not. Yeah,
it's
wild.
Pretty fucked up.
It's wild. I love El Paso Elsewhere. Shout out to El Paso Elsewhere. It's a cool
shout out to El Paso Elsewhere.
It's a shame though that the creator of that game is also like the lead in El Paso Elsewhere, and he does such a good job. But he ain't like big screen material. I mean, he was never gonna star in the film. Lakeith Stanfield, you know, he could do. You saw Judas and the Black Messiah, or
I have.
Sorry to Bother You. I love Sorry to Bother You. He's a good choice.
That movie was great.
Yeah, did you hear about Crispy? You left. El Paso Elsewhere is getting a film adaptation.
What?
Starring Lakeith Stanfield. What? They're in talk
as the main character.
The main character.
Fucking wild.
You could see him do like a noir, you know, killing himself, you know,
cool.
with painkillers. You know, I could see it. I like it.
That's pretty cool.
Anyways, that's all.
All right, Chris Davis, your final thoughts.
My final thought is that I might be embarking on a project/experiment with my gaming.
He bought a boat. He bought a boat.
I don't have that much credit. No. but I am buying a house, so I need to save up for closing costs and a bunch of different stuff over the next six-ish months. So what I thought about doing, and I kind of started this week or this weekend, was to start back on my back catalog and then play a bunch of games over the past couple years that I've bought and never actually got around to playing, like Star Ocean.
Games that have eluded you, yeah.
Other things.
Star
like
Ocean.
Like the second story one?
Yeah, the
You're
remake of Second
looking
Story.
Enigma, Chris Davis. What the hell? Why'd you buy that?
Because I'm sorry, Brad. I like having variety and trying different things.
Wait, Brad.
Yeah, but it seems like a dartboard at a fucking like what?
He played Unicorn Overlord too. Like I feel like
that's different. He loves 13 Sentinels. That's different. Star Ocean is a remake of a PS1 JRPG.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. This is great for the podcast. I want to hear Chris Davis's takes on some of these games that have passed him by.
It's just wild.
Yeah, it's just stuff I never got around to.
Random. It's random.
So I'm gonna do that. And I started this week because I watched the Fallout show and I enjoyed myself, but I didn't want to play Fallout. So
yeah,
it's the exact opposite experience I'm having. Well, not exact opposite.
So what's the appropriate substitute for me? That ended up being Metro Exodus, the enhanced edition.
Okay.
Because I have a brand new computer. I want a game that can test it, and it's testing it, and it's fun, and that game is really good. And it's also terribly evil on the highest difficulty level which I'm playing on. But I love this game so much.
That is a pretty great game. Maybe we'll hear about a new Metro game here pretty soon. Guys, we got a new Stalker game coming out this year. Fuck, I keep forgetting Stalker 2 is coming out this year.
We're getting a Metro game and a Stalker game this year.
Pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Is Stalker coming out? No one bid on Stalker?
It's got a date, but like it could still slip.
September something.
It's like August or September. So
yeah, like
it could slip, but I feel like they're pretty confident at this point.
I think Stalker's going to come out.
My if it slips, I don't even think it'll slip out of the year. If it slips, it may slip to November or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If I don't think they're going to wait any longer than that. Because, granted, my thing is that this is a brand new development studio that's making this Stalker game. Like it's GSC Game World in name only. It's just like what Atari announced today. They're relaunching Infogrames. So like. That means nothing.
The name means nothing, yeah.
But the name means something.
The name in and of itself has value, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything about the product they're making.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm hopeful. I need to get my hands on it before I can even render judgment. But right now I'm more excited for the new Metro game than that.
Well, we'll have a chance to talk about that later in the year. All right, my final thoughts for this week, just to kind of jump on what Chris Davis said. I'm watching the Fallout show with my wife, and we're both really enjoying it. And she just finished she's like 100 hours deep in Fallout 3, and I am personally having the itch to play Fallout as a result of the show. I want to play 4.
Like sometimes it seems like she's playing all the good games, and you're just playing bullshit, Nick.
I'm playing Dragon Dogma 2, asshole. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the shit.
So it's really putting me in the mood to play Fallout, and I think it might be the fuel that I need to actually go back and finish Fallout 4. So I'm actually getting really excited about doing that at some point. But I'm so far behind. I feel like I'm just struggling to keep my head above water. I haven't touched Rebirth in weeks. I'm playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and I feel like I'm only halfway through that game, and I'm like 50 hours in. Pacific Drive is just taunting me, and I want to play that game so bad, but I just gotta focus. So that sucks. But I guess really what I wanted to talk about was we're getting closer and closer to Silent Hill 2 getting re-revealed or whatever. And it was in the news this week because they showed something and they changed the protagonist's
they made him
face
younger?
again.
They look younger?
They made him I don't know if they made him younger. I mean, I've never really kind of understood what the community's problem was with the way the character looked in the first place, and I thought the original complaint was that he looked too young to be the character, and now I think he looks even younger, and now people are happy again. I can't.
Oh, they're happy.
Yeah, the people
Oh,
are
yeah.
like, "Oh my god, this is a huge improvement." I was like, "He looks younger than he did before," and I thought his age was like the primary complaint. I don't know. I can't keep. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't keep it all straight.
I never thought they were. I mean, I didn't think they were happy. Who's ever happy?
Nobody's ever fucking happy. And I'm Zero Skies. I'm not talking about people in our chat or in our Discord. I'm talking about just kind of the broader community at large. Like a lot of the stuff I've been seeing in reaction to it was like, oh, they fixed his face. He looks so much better now. I'm like, he just looks younger than he did before.
Who are we
But
talking
whatever.
about?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we're getting pretty close to seeing a re-reveal on Silent Hill 2, and I'm hoping it shows better than last time, because last time they did that really kind of fast cut combat thing, which is just not what Silent Hill is about, and I think that threw a lot of people off. And I hope they can show us something again when it shows up, maybe in May. I think Sony's going to do something in May or maybe June. I don't know, but I'm assuming it's probably going to show up there. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that when they show it again, it's maybe a little bit more tone appropriate for Silent Hill, if you know what I mean.
I
So
feel like they
we'll
should
see what
have never
happens.
shown any combat whatsoever.
Well,
They
I mean,
should
here's the
just
thing.
hid that until
This is a classic example of marketing people wanting to react to people's opinions about a product, which is the only thing you ever hear people. I mean, not the only thing, but like when people talk about Silent Hill 2 since the beginning of time, or since 2002 when the game fucking came out, like the only thing people fucking talk about is how the combat in Silent Hill is so fucking shitty. And that is true, but it's also like the least important fucking thing. So it makes sense to me that doing a remake, a marketing team as kind of like a goal would be like, yeah, we want to show them that our combat doesn't suck. And it's like like that's great, but like that should not be the focus of your marketing. And it's just kind of a
It's not the focus. They have. I would
no no
calling
that
it even marketing is generous. They
no.
barely shown
Brad,
this game.
that trailer that I'm referring to, the last trailer they revealed, was literally called a combat trailer.
Yeah.
That was the whole focus of that trailer, was to show off the combat, and it was a quick cut, so it didn't match the vibe you're supposed to be going with Silent Hill.
Also, the combat didn't look good. So.
I mean, maybe there's to be, but like again, I don't care. Like I couldn't care less what the combat is like in this game, because it's really not what I'm here for. But
All right.
it's just, I just hope when they do show it again, they've maybe put their finger back on the pulse. You know what I mean? And read the audience a little bit more. But we'll find out, I suppose, because I think it's going to show back up in May or June. Anyways, that's it. That's our show this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for everybody who joined us early when we started streaming at 8 to do our trailer talk. I think it was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed that, maybe let us know in Discord, in the comments on 4playernetwork.com, wherever it may be. Let us know if you like that. I think we might try and get in the habit of doing that before our shows going forward, during that usual window where we're just, shooting the shit. So, in the meantime, guys, join us on Discord at discord.gg/4player. You can find all of our episodes on Spotify, Amazon, blah, 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 all those fucking things. Not Google Podcasts. It doesn't exist anymore. God damn it. But we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Be good to each other. Play video games. Good night.
Bye.